Hello, everybody. This is Henry Kramer, 605 Chaser, and giving you a broadcast update with respect to North Dakota and all its craziness that's going to be happening here over the next couple of days. So we do have a breakdown here. This is a slight risk. This was updated early morning hours. Let's see if this is, yes, 7:13 a.m. is when this was updated. So they do still have a slight risk for areas of North Dakota. The risk for the tornado activity, though, is pretty much uh, conditional. Minot, Dickinson, Bismarck, Rugby, Devils Lake, Carrington, all those areas are in that 2% risk. And what we do anticipate to have happen is late time storms. We could have that wind threat. The hail threat is really not there that bad. Um, in the eastern half. And then Minot, Newtown, Watford City, you do have the hail risk at a significant hail risk, 15% hatched area. That yellow zone, that would end up being just regular 15%. All of this is pretty significant. And let's take a breakdown of what we suspect for the timing on this based on HRRR weather model. Got my son with me here. He's hanging out. And let's take a look. Let's first take a look at those significant tornado parameters and see if those numbers jive with what the outlooks have here. We do want to make sure that we've got the 11Z up here so we have a full update pushed out here. And if we look at 3 p.m., you can kind of see things moving over here into areas of Jamestown, not a whole lot. The other elements are not going to be there. Right in here, this is the area of main concern where we are suspecting we're going to have enough shear to be able to get things going once they break the cap. So here's those numbers. If we look at just the significant tornado parameters, this would suggest we might have some more development on the front side of this, but these are not zero. These are not huge. Again, this is really conditional for tornadic activity. Let's take a look at, let's look at the surface-based SIN to show you a little bit more of that capping that's expected here. 1 second. And we can break that down for you a little bit easier. If we take a look here, lots and lots of cloud cover you're seeing this morning. Eventually, that starts to erode. Let me show you the numbers here. That might be a little bit easier. So if you look at these negative numbers, this would suggest that there are definitely some capping. But however, over by Dickinson, it starts to whittle away in the early afternoon hours. And then there's really no cap over here, but all the other elements are not going to be available. So that's the tricky part. Once we get to 2 p.m., the cap is pretty close to eroded over by Dickinson. Yeah, -11, and even up into areas of Canada there, where a lot of this is expected to really develop. Once we get into 4 p.m., look at that. Pretty much nothing there for cap. That -2 is pretty close to zero. A little bit of cap there. This is why the storms are expected to fire super late because a lot of the capping. And then once we get into 5, 6 p.m. Central Daylight Time, that's when we start seeing things fire off over by Glendive, Montana area. And then they really get pretty explosive. Newtown, Watford City around 10 p.m. Let's show you a composite reflective look at what that timing is. Right there, we've got some pretty significant storms right there. This is again the hail look, the look at what the hail is expected to do. Let's take a quick peek at the updraft helicity is another number that we like to look at, and this is especially for that possibility of some rotation. Newtown could have some, again, conditional threat there way late in the evening. If storms can fire off and break the cap though, We possibly could have um, a couple of spin-ups here right around the Watford and Newtown area, but this would likely be, if it could break it early, this would be around 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. But this HRRR or her model is suggesting that this isn't going to be happening until super late in the evening, sometime after 8 p.m. And so these max updraft helicity numbers, they do suggest that we definitely have that hail factor in there. And let's go ahead and look at that shear. So the shear is going to be not significant, but there's 40 knots. We don't have a whole lot of shear until later in the day. Let's bring this back a little bit. And that shear is what's needed in order to break the cap. This is why this is conditional. There we go. See? Noontime, not a lot of shear, not a lot of wind shear to really be able to break the cap through there. Once we get to 5 p.m., we start seeing it. 5 p.m., 7 p.m., we start to see it mosey over by Glendive, and then that breaks through that cap there super late in the evening. And then the shear shows up here over by Newtown, Watford City around 8 or 9. And that's why those factors are showing super late development there. Let's go ahead and bring this back to a live look at the radar here. And as you can see, there's not really a whole lot, just general thunderstorms, kind of that cluttery mess, um, making your day look a little gloomy, but not a whole lot going on. So again, this is the hail factor. We have that significant risk there. We also have the wind factor. That's a significant wind risk that is Bismarck, Minot, Devils Lake, Carrington, all those areas that have already seen some significant, derecho I was in. So I'm not expecting a derecho here, but can't rule out some pretty significant winds. And again, this risk for the tornadic activity, that's all the way over to Devils Lake, Minot, Newtown, Watford City, Williston, Dickinson, Bismarck areas. And then the overall risk that we have, that's slight risk or a 2 out of 5 in this yellow zone. And then the marginal risk, that is in the green. And the lighter shade of green, that's just general thunderstorms. Now let's take a look over here into eastern part of the U.S. And we do definitely have some risks there as well. These risks, though, are not expecting to have the tornado risk. These are less than 2% risk for tornado risk. Our wind factor, that is pretty significant there as well, 15% in the yellow zone. And our hail threat, pretty minimal. Again, this is just going to be kind of some gusty winds, 60 plus mile an hour winds over in that area, some hail, marginally severe hail, but not expecting any type of tornadic activity at this point in time that in the East Coast area. That tornado risk is really up into areas of Bismarck, North Dakota area, and very, very conditional. So we'll have to see how that plays out. All right, let's go ahead and take a quick peek here at some other factors. Let's take a look at tomorrow's risk when it comes to tornadic activity. That tornadic activity does shift over to areas of Minnesota, St. Cloud, Minneapolis, Duluth, International Falls, Fargo. And we're going to kind of have to switch over to a different model here. Let's go to the NAM3K so we can go out a little farther. And we'll take a look at the composite reflective here. Now, just bear in mind, this was updated at 2 a.m., this NAM3K, and then the HRRR, or HER model as it's stated, that was updated not that long ago, maybe about an hour ago. And so there are going to be some differences. This one, of course, saw some of those storms coming through Dickinson area, Minot area early this morning. Non-severe type, and then this does line up with the HER actually. That's pretty interesting. So as you can see here, Minot, Dickinson area, some significant storms again around 8 p.m. tonight. And then these will all shift towards an easterly direction. You can see Duluth kind of gets in on the fun, uh, 11 p.m. But redevelopment is expected later in the day on the 4th of July. So here's where the factors are. We do have some storms. The NAM 3K is suggesting some isolated storms right into the Pier and north central part of South Dakota. Also Bismarck area, just to the east of you, Jamestown, expecting some development there later in the day. So once 6 p.m. ramps up, that's when things are really expected to ramp up the storms. Uh, they they again will have some conditional factors. And here for our area of South Dakota, look at that. This is going to be a wall of wind that we're expecting in this area. So right here from St. Cloud all the way back down to Sioux Falls area, all of this is going to be a whole lot of wind threat as we get later into the day on your 4th of July into the overnight hours. So if you're planning on shooting off some fireworks, let's take a look at this. You'll be fine in Sioux Falls area and the Twin Cities area for much of the day, but then if you're planning on about 9 p.m. in Aberdeen, that's when you're going to want to be super careful because obviously you're not really going to be able to. Most of your fireworks are going to be duds because the rain, the amount of rain that you guys are going to be having. And then once you get into Sioux Falls about 1 o'clock in the morning, that's you're going to have basically a damper put on your 4th of July. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. And then again, we do have the possibility of those tornadoes, areas of northeast South Dakota, southeast North Dakota, and pretty much the whole entire state, except for this little tiny blip over here by La Crosse and Winona that is not in the tornado risk. But everywhere else in Minnesota, other than way up here, uh, all this green is the tornado risk. So just be mindful of that. Let me see if I can see your guys' chats. So 1 second here. I do see some folks on the chat, and I want to respond to you as best as I possibly can. 1 second here. For some reason, it's not letting me go see it. So I'll have to figure that part of it out. But we'll get there eventually. I know a lot of you have come over from recommendations from Tufts Weather on TikTok, and I appreciate y'all joining. But this is what we have for risks at this point. And as far as this extreme southeast part of the U.S., this risk here is now got this is the tropical development chances over the next 7 days. We now have a 60% chance. So, I mean, the one plus is that it's not going to impact areas of Florida too significantly. Obviously, you guys have had some rain in the Florida area, and then what we're expecting is some of this development to happen around the South Carolina area and then push off to the northeast. But again, that is my take on it. We'll see how that goes with respect to the National Hurricane Center. So that's the latest information that we have from 605 Chaser Studios. Sorry it wasn't a full breakdown here, and sorry I wasn't able to get your guys' chat information pulled up. But I'm going to let you guys go. I'm off to Nebraska. I may be chasing today. Um, maybe and the area that I'm going to be chasing would just be rain. It's not going to be anything huge. I'm going to Nebraska to visit with family. There's not any real risk in Nebraska area. There are some indications, though, that tomorrow might be a better chase day. Let me show you that here real quick. and that would be just to the west of the Omaha area. So we'll have to see how this plays out. Um, Sioux City, some of those areas could have that marginal risk. And my thought is that they're likely tomorrow going to update this zone here with some other risks, which that hail, and they could end up pushing or extending that tornado risk down to this area as well. We'll see how that goes. God bless and stay safe, everybody.